Hello, it's me, doing a really bad impression of Paul McCartney. I still don't have an intro to my show. So here's my intro to me. So take it away, me. Why, thank you, me, and thank you for listening. And this is the VR Vault, episode 6. And I am doing this show about 12 hours before Hurricane Irma is about to hit where I live. And I will be at work tomorrow. And I don't know what will happen. That's why I'm making this show. Now, I believe I will survive. I believe I will live. I don't think I'm going to die. But you never know, what's going to happen. So that's why pretty much I'm making this podcast now, because in case I die, this will be my swan song. So I just want to talk about what a ride it's been, in case it all ends. Which I really don't think it's going to end. I'm not trying to do this pity party or I'm going to die, but you never know. You just don't know. So that's why I'm going to do this podcast about this interesting life I've lived. And I want to go through it like just the little highlights of my life. But before I go into the stories of my wacky life, I got some comments, some reviews on iTunes. I got one from somebody called Maiden Mike G. I know who that is. For those of you who wanted more behind-the-scenes stories from one of the hosts of the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast, then this is for you. Ralph's stories and insights are great and always a great listen. Keep it up, brother. Nitroglycerin. Yes, that's Michael Nitroglycerin. I gave him that name, and I love that name. So, looks like he loves it too. So, thank you so much, Nitroglycerin, and I loved your comment. All right, now on Podbean, which, oddly enough, I got 2 reviews on Podbean where I read you those reviews on the last episode that I can't see. But here's 2 I can see. There might be more. But like I said to everybody, don't leave a comment on Podbean, because the chances are I'm not going to see it. Do it on iTunes or Spreaker. Those seem to work fine. The first one is from the At the Movies, episode 4. They're both from that episode. First is my buddy Terrence Reardon. He said, I love the episode and the show, brother. Yet another winning episode, my good buddy. Thanks for sticking up for me, my good friend. Yes, I did stick up with him when I was talking about Justin Childers, who left me more comments on Spreaker, and I'm not going to read those. If you want to read it, I don't know, whatever episode it was after At the Movies, the Colombian controversy, he left the comments, a couple comments on there, and it just seemed like if I read them, then I'd go into a whole diatribe. But he did say that, he thought I was talented and he liked me. So there you go. Let's just leave it at that. Cut the deck, peace. But then again, Ian. He's going to say something, I might join in. So I can't really completely say I'm not going to stop fucking with you, but I'll try. I mean, after all, I'm not reading your comments. So, if I do read those comments, I will fuck with you. But you'd said some complimentary things to me. And I'm such a heel that I don't want to attack you. At least not here. Okay. So the next one is from Parker Smykle. Smykle. Smykle? Another great episode, Ralph. I love hearing you and Ian's thoughts on movies. Keep up the great work. Take care. Thank you so much, Michael. And yes, that was a great episode. I really enjoyed talking movies with Ian, and I want to do it again. There will be a future At the Movies again with Ian Wadley in the future, if I live. Anyway, so, that's it. Those are all the comments I got. Please send more. I'll read them all on the air. Oh, wait. No. There are more comments. You know what? I messed up because YouTube, I didn't read the YouTube comments. And I got a bunch of them. So let's go through those, okay? All right. This one is from the last episode, the Colombian controversy, Abby and Hannah's dad. He wrote, Ralph, you are the man. You and I are about the same age. However, I am not a huge metal fan, but appreciate your reviews, stories, and insight. How cool is that? This guy's not even into metal, and he likes to hear me jibber jabber. I think that's fucking awesome. Thank you so much, Abby. That's awesome. I really appreciate that review. I mean, Jesus, man. There's somebody that likes to hear me talking doesn't even like the music I listen to. Very cool, Abby. The next one is at the movies. Chuck H. Wrote, "It was death proof, fellas, for your information." Yes, I believe I said, what did I say? I forgot. But you see, now you're gonna leave a comment saying you said this. But yeah, I was talking about the movie Death Proof and I called it something else. I do remember hearing that, but correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Ian correct me on that? But then again, I don't know. I edit the episodes. I never go back and listen to it. Chuck H. left another comment on my concert series where he made a comment on that the Vieira vault that I pulled out on that one where I put that old Van Halen interview before I saw him on the Women and Children First tour, and he wrote, "Damn, Van Halen were nutso back then, back in the day. Another awesome episode, Ralphie. Cheers." Thank you, Chuck H. And he also left another one. I guess it was at the movies as well. He wrote, "Great show, you fucking rule." Nice, thank you. Ace Man on the At the Movies said, "Great podcast, Dr. Fuck. Keep them coming. Rock on, dude." Yeah, you rock on too, Ace Man. I know Ace Man. He's left me comments, I believe, on the Almost Human one, YouTube page. And the last two are from Chuck H as well. No, there's way more than, damn. There's a lot of reviews here. On the Paul Stanley, Chuck H said, "Laugh my ass off. Great stuff, Ralphie." And then on the first show, he said, "By the way, I forgot to tell you, I saw 4 old dudes fighting over politics at the Tacoma Dome. All 4 were ejected. I was pissed. I was there with my girl. If they would have got too close, I would have got into it too." Oh, there you go. And he also said, "I saw Roger Waters in Tacoma. By the way, you fucking rule. Thanks again for the kind words and support during my surgery, bro. Thanks. Cheers." Thank you. And I hope you're doing much better, Chuck H, man. You rock, my brother. Tom Parks on the first episode wrote, "Out of 5, he put 5 horns out of 5 horns." Nice, thank you. John Holt on the Paul Stanley episode, he put like a time on it, 50. I guess at the 50.48 mark, he wrote, "Holy shit, Ralph, you cracked me up. Great review." I don't remember what I said there, but I appreciate it. And then he left another comment with a bunch of laughing faces at the 48.52 mark. So I'll click on those later and find out what you found so funny, brah. Thank you, John Holt. All right, concert stories. Parker Smichael again wrote, "Fantastic stories, Ralph. Very entertaining. Love listening to this. Thank you." Gypsy Eyes 86 on the concert one said, "These are great, dude. I'm so envious of you, though. Love all the bands, and I wish I was alive to experience them. Born in 86, so I missed out." Yeah, you did, buddy. I feel bad for you, man. It was great times. But look at it this way. Chances are you're going to outlive me. All right. Next one. Jonathan, it's HJERTZELL. On the concert one, he said, "Really cool listening to your concert stories. Thank you." I should do another one. Because, who was it? My friend Bobby Tofino said, "Man, I can't believe you didn't mention about the time you drove to Virginia to see Anthrax." So, yeah, there's many more stories to tell. Scott Norris said, "Great listen to the concert one. Thank you." And John Mungus said first. I guess he was the first one to listen to the episode 3. So those are all the reviews. So thank you all, everybody out there that left a review. Even you, Justin Childers. So let's get into this episode, which is about my life. I should start at the beginning. I'm a child of Cuban immigrants. So my dad fled Cuba right when Castro took power, and he came up to Tarrytown, New York, and saved enough money to get my mom over there. They were both teenagers. My dad worked very hard, And he had my big brother in 1960 and me in 1965. I've been raised by very hardworking people, and they installed that in me to work hard. Because I remember when I was at the age of 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11, 12, I don't know when it ended. My dad would wake me up to go help him with his gardening job. Because by the time I was 8 and 9, we already moved to Miami. And my dad became a gardener. So my job was to pick up little pieces of papers and rocks. My brother's job was to ride around the riding lawnmower, and my dad took care of the other lawnmower. While all the other kids were going to the movies, playing baseball, enjoying their weekends, I was out there busting my ass in the hot Florida sun. And I would tell my dad, "Hey, Pops, man, you going to pay me?" And then he would point to the roof and he goes, "See that up there? That's your money. See what you're eating? That's what you're getting paid." Normally you would say, "Well, wow, what a prick." But no, actually that was very good for me for the future, because it made me not afraid of work. And I've had a lot of shitty jobs. And now I have a glorious job. I worked the worst jobs. I finished high school, but I never went to college. I went out and worked, you name it. I was a car washer, a bus boy, worked in the airport, put tar up on roofs in hot Florida sun. You can think about the worst jobs, I've had them. Because, being the stubborn guy that I am, I refuse to cut my hair. So with long hair, the bias of having long hair, you can't get a good job. I mean, sometimes you can, and it happened to me, but I'll get to that later. My parents are kind of pretty conservative, and my dad would not allow me to bring girls into the house. So in order for me to see girls, it was either me sneaking in their house, where there were a few incidences where I had to hide in their closet when the parents came home, and sometimes for hours. And sometimes I'd take girls to the park, outdoors, and do our thing. Wasn't easy living with my parents. My dad ran it with an iron fist. And I got in a lot of trouble with my dad because I was a rebellious dickhead. And he took the belt to me. And let me tell you something. Every time he took the belt to me, I never repeated that mistake. And I'm not going to sit here and judge parents today, but boy, I think if my dad never took the belt to me, I'd probably be wearing my jeans kind of low with my underwear showing. And now in retrospect, I thank my parents for doing that to me, trying to install good in me and making me work hard, because I know people in their 30s and 40s that are still living with their parents. And I know that you just can't be happy in a situation like that. You just can't. All of them wish they could have had their own place. I mean, how cool would it be to come home to your own place instead of coming home to mom? Because they didn't really have that upbringing I had. They're afraid of work. And I know 2 cases, personally, I know. Because they are lazy. So, I was lucky that, what they say, you have to suffer to succeed. You don't suffer, you ain't going to succeed. And you think of these people that are still living with their parents. What's going to happen when their parents are gone? They're not prepared to live alone. They're going to have to go jumping from couch to couch, relative to relative, until they do strike out on their own. And it's not going to be easy. But it wasn't easy for me either. But I got over it. Now I'm used to it. And I never leave things for later. Like this hurricane. Like, I went out and bought candles and water and flashlights and batteries months ago, before there ever was a hurricane. When I get my phone bill or my electric bill, I don't wait till later. I've never paid a late charge in my life. I do it right away. Pay it right away, get it over with. And my parents installed that in me. My teenage years were awesome. I mean, other than the weekends where I had to bust my ass, you know, there were times on weekdays I can go to movies with my buddies, and I became addicted to movies. That was my life. It wasn't really music. I dabbled in music. You know, I would buy 45s of the Sweet Elton John, stuff like that. I would buy them on 45. Never really owned an album till I went to go see a movie called Heroes with Henry Winkler. And at the end of the movie, they played Carry On My Wayward Son, Kansas, and I loved it so much. Maybe, I don't remember, maybe I couldn't find the 45, so I ended up buying the full-length album, and then I ended up loving that album, Left Overture. And then I started getting into, like, Electric Light Orchestra, and, who else? Nazareth, you know, Black Sabbath. I already told the story of Black Sabbath, I'm sure, on a past episode. My brother owned Paranoid. And then, you know, then I started listening to it. And then eventually I got around to buying We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll. And that was my first Sabbath album I bought with my own money. I became a big Sabbath fan. But still, before all that, all my life revolved around was movies. I loved movies. I wasn't even into girls. I've never even masturbated. I've never, you know, most people, when they come, it's through masturbation for the first time. First time they come, it's through masturbation. Not me. The first time I came, I was 13 years old, and it was during sex with a 36-year-old woman. And I wasn't into girls at that time, or women, at 13 years old. But how that happened, and I'm not naming names, but all I can say is this woman was married to my brother's friend, who was a truck driver. And one night she called my house looking for my brother. Told me he wasn't there. She started talking to me on the phone. She, you know, and I always knew, like, she would always tell me, she was very flirty with me, you know, when I would see her in person. Oh, you're so cute, you know. You're such an adorable guy. And I'd be like, oh, shucks. But I'd blush a little bit, but it's because I wasn't used to it. I wasn't really into girls. And so while she's flirting with me on the phone, the subject of sex came up. I don't know the first goddamn thing about sex, but she started mocking me. Oh, you wouldn't know what to do. You're still a virgin. I'm like, no, I'm not. Oh, yeah, right. You've had sex before? I go, yeah. Okay, I want you to prove it. I'm like, huh? She came to pick me up. It was about, I believe it, and I remember it was a school night, and it was about maybe 10 o'clock. I had to sneak out of the house. She took me to her house. Her husband was a truck driver, so he's out on the road. And she picked me up with her. They had a newborn at the time. She came and picked me up. I remember I sat in the back because the baby seat was in the front. Went to her house. She put the baby in the crib. That was the first kiss I ever had from an older woman. I was extremely nervous. My legs were shaking. I didn't know what to do. She can tell and started, you know, messing with me, laughing at me. You know, you're nervous, look at you. I'm like, nuh-uh. And then she grabbed my dick. And that was like, whoa. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've had hard-ons before, but I've never had that feeling she was giving me with her hand and then her mouth. I couldn't believe it. I was like, whoa, this is weird. It was so weird to me. Then we had sex. And I came, and I didn't know what was happening. I came in her, too, by the way. I was like, whoa, what the hell? Oh, oh. And then, you know, she took me home, and the next day at school, I was like, what the hell was that? You know, when I came, I was like, what was that? That was weird. And then also my head was like, I want to feel that again. And at the time, I didn't know I could do it myself. I thought the only way you can orgasm was with another person. So I called her, and I kept seeing her a lot. And when her husband would come home, I would get extremely jealous and pissed because I'm young. I don't know no better. And I'm like, she's probably having sex with him right now. Well, dumbass, she's married to him. Of course she is. And she's like a nympho. And then it stopped for a while. And that's when I started dating girls, and because I was like, I started having girlfriends here and there. But the girlfriends that I had at the time were my age, and they weren't as experienced as her and as good as her sexually, that I was yearning for her. She was like the love of my life, that, because she took my virginity. So every time I would see her, it was always awesome. But also when I wasn't seeing her, I would always try to look for older women. I remember going to parties, trying to pick up an older girl, and she'd be like, oh, look how cute. I'm like, fuck that cute shit, girl. Give me your number. Wouldn't work, though. So I did see her many times through the years until I got a phone call one day. And this is back before caller ID or any of that stuff. And pick up the phone. Hello? Who's this? And I'm like, who's this? He's like, this is Oscar. Who is this? I'm like, oh shit. That's the husband, I'm like, this is Ralph. Ralph? Manny's little brother? I go, yeah. Hangs up the phone. I freak out. Because Oscar was a fucking like a bodybuilder too. Motherfucker was built. So I fucking haul ass out of my house. And back then, I was hiding at my friend's house. And back then, when it was dinner time, my mom would walk out and scream my name, Rafi. You could hear that shit a block away. And I was like 6 houses away. And she'd come out and scream my name that day. And I was like, oh, thank God, I can go home. My parents are there to protect me from this big guy, And at the time, me and my brother shared a bedroom. So I get home to eat. Then I go in my bedroom, and there's my brother with a fat lip, a bloody lip. And I was like, whoa, what happened? He's like, man, Oscar found out I was fucking around with his wife. That's when I found out my brother was also doing her. That crushed me. And the gig was up. He found out, but he didn't find out about me. And to this day, my brother doesn't know. I hope he ain't listening to this podcast. But, yeah, you weren't the only one doing her. I was too. So that was over, and I've had like relationship problems ever since, I just seem to like find girls that are kind of like her. Either, they maybe not all of them were unfaithful, but none of them were really good, except for 2. The last one and one I've had like, I don't know, 27 years ago, who's no longer with us. But I won't get into that. So that's my story of losing my virginity. And she made me very, very perverted because she showed me things at a very young age that when I was doing them to girls my age, they were like, holy fuck, this guy's amazing. It's because I got fucking tutored by somebody that's been at it for many years. Where they're used to fucking guys that were like my age that didn't know what the fuck to do. And I don't think I need a psychiatrist to realize the reason I haven't been really successful in relationships, unlucky in love, is probably stems from what happened with me and her. But I have never been unfaithful in any relationship I've ever been in. Oddly enough. I've come close a couple times, but it never happened. By default, I've never cheated on a girlfriend. Had them cheat on me. A couple. I don't know. Maybe all of them did. Thing is, I have a belief that girls are much better at cheating than guys. Because us guys have egos like, man, a girl never cheat on me. And at the same time, when we cheat on girls, we're so stupid about it. We leave tracks and stuff that we usually get busted more than chicks do. I think so, because I happen to know a lot of girls that cheat on their boyfriends, and a lot of them girls are still with their boyfriends, and they never knew. I know they never found out. I know one of them that would dump her in a second if he knew. that she did. And I know she did with a friend of mine, for a fact. Actually caught them. Well, not caught them having sex, but I caught them making out. Anyway, so even though I have been unlucky in love, you have to take the good with the bad, because I've been very lucky with life. Life has been very fucking good to me. I've had so much good stuff happen to me in my life. You know, stuff that, like freak stuff that's happened to me in my life. That, goddamn, I can't believe this happened to me. Where most people would wish they did what I did. I have done stuff that every guy, well, a lot of guys wish they could do. And I've done it. And I still do it. But I'm not going to talk about it because that's just me bragging. But honestly, I've had a very, very good life. And I've been with a lot of very beautiful girls. And I got to say, for anybody out there that thinks they can't get a beautiful girl, you're wrong. Because obviously, if I can, why can't you? I ain't no fucking Brad Pitt. But I've gone out with girls that Brad Pitt could get. And how do I do it? Well, I'll give you a little secret, my friends. Everybody out there. If you want to pick up a girl, I should write a book about it. But fuck it, you got this podcast. You guys, and it's hard for us guys to do this, but you have to do this in order to get a hot girl. You have to embrace rejection. Trust me, it works if you embrace rejection. This is an example of how to embrace rejection. If you go and try to hit on 20 hot girls, 20 of them, I mean hot girls, girls that you look at and you're like, no way I can get that. Yes, that's who you should hit on, those. Most of the time, they'll nicely say no or rudely say no. But they'll be that 1 out of 20. And sometimes, shit, it was 1 out of 5. 1 out of 10. Sometimes I got lucky. I didn't have to take that much rejection. But there's always that one girl out of the bunch that really does love a man who is very confident in themselves. That carries himself and says, you know what? I think you're cute and I think you should be with me. There are really hot girls out there that like that. Believe me, you. I have pictures to prove it. And video. But that's my thing. You know, I see a very pretty girl. And I have to say something to him with confidence. Not rudely. But, you know, there's just no way of hitting on a girl where it doesn't come out a little, you know, annoying to the girls that don't like that. It's just the way it is. But I can't help myself. The only way I can help myself from hitting on a hot girl, and I don't know why I am this way, is when I'm with my friends. When I'm around my buddies, I can't do it. I feel like, I don't know, maybe subconsciously I'm thinking it's not going to work because they're going to think I'm hitting on them to impress my friends. Maybe that's why I think that. I just feel more confident alone. And it works. It really does work. And I look back at my teenage years. My teenage years was basically the 70s and 80s. Early 80s, mid to mid 80s. Till 85 is when I turned 20. But there was something so special about the 70s and early 80s that kind of like wavered off. Because I don't care what anybody says, man. Nobody can fucking tell me that the 70s didn't have the best damn movies ever. And the best TV shows. Best music, too, I think. Even though it wasn't metal yet, but shit. No, nothing for me tops fucking Black Sabbath, period. And that's from the 70s. But the 80s, especially early 80s, you had a new wave of British heavy metal, and then you had, like, the explosion of Van Halen, 78 to 84. And a lot of the early LA stuff like Motley Crue, Rat Dockin' before they became hair metal. Some rockin' shit, man. And I was going to all the arena shows back then, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden in the arenas, and seeing bands like Accept, like Come Down Here. I've seen so many great, great bands. Yeah, there's a lot I didn't see. I never saw Led Zeppelin. I never saw Bon Scott. I never saw Cliff Burton. But I saw pretty much everything else I wanted to see in my discography. Original Black Sabbath. Wasn't until like 2000 or 2001 that I finally saw that. But I saw it. And it was a religious experience. And there was just something so special about that back then. Arena shows, the unity of the arena shows, the vibe. There wasn't really that elitist attitude that you have now, There was a little elitism back then, but not that much. Not as bad as it is today. Because there wasn't really genres. There was this and that. I mean, back then all we had was heavy metal and thrash. There wasn't black metal, death metal, which I love all that stuff too. Well, some of it. But along with that genre comes that audience. And believe me, two bands that I absolutely love, Slayer and Pantera, have like the worst fan bases. I'm sorry. There's a lot of scumbags in those fan bases. Love the music. Love Pantera too. To me, they saved the 90s. Metal in the 90s. A lot of Pantera haters out there. Very trendy to hate that band. I can't. I love them. I thought they were the best live band back then. But I think I already talked about all that in my concert stuff. So I'll just breeze past the concert stuff and get more into my life. And all the crazy shit that's happened in my life. Like drugs. Yes, drugs. Yes, I don't do drugs anymore. I work for the city and they randomly drug test me, so I had to quit smoking weed, which was my main drug, weed. And when I retire, I plan on doing it again because I'm not dying in the hurricane tomorrow. And, I loved weed. I functioned on weed, everything. To see a movie, I needed weed. To, after a shower or watch a TV show or put on a video or a DVD. I always, Headbangers Ball back in the day. I always had to smoke a joint and watch all that shit. But I quit. I am now, it's already been 10 years since last April, and we're already in September. So it's been 10 years and 5-6 months. And now I can function without weed. I can go to the movies, I can watch TV, I can do everything I used to do. But honestly, I would have loved to do that. But weed wasn't the only thing I did. In the 80s, once I was out of the house, living on my own, I was experimenting on a lot of stuff. And one of my favorite things to do, drug-wise, has been illegal for 30 years now. And they were called Quaaludes. They were the greatest drug known to man. I mean, I loved Quaaludes. You heard that myth about Spanish fly? You give a girl a Spanish fly and she'll fuck you? No. Quaaludes. But yeah, I mean, the girl has to find you attractive, honestly, You don't give a girl a Quaalude, she'll fuck anybody. I mean, not every girl. I loved Quaaludes. I remember I would run into a wall on Quaaludes. Literally run into a wall and love it. That's how good that drug was. Run into a wall and you'd wow, what a rush. That was great. I didn't love it so much the next day when I was bruised up going, ow. But Quaaludes would numb you. It was just such a great fucking drug. And I believe, I can't remember her name. Paula some shit. She made them illegal. And I want to thank her because if she didn't, I'd probably be dead. Because a lot of people died on Quaaludes back then, overdosed. I did a lot of Quaaludes when I would go to concerts. Get a lot of... it's amazing, too, because, a lot of people, when they go to concerts, like me, we take drugs and we drink Jack Daniels and we do all that shit. And we'd go in that concert completely fucking fucked up out of our mind. But for some reason, I would tell you right now the set list of a show I saw in the 80s, early 80s. I can remember set lists. I can remember the show vividly, even on Quaaludes and Jack Daniels. But there is such thing as a gateway drug, which was weed, beer, alcohol. It was great. It moved on to cocaine, but I got lucky with cocaine because cocaine didn't last too long with me. I loved it. Cocaine made me a perfect bowler. I remember bowling on cocaine with perfect games, strikes every fucking time. And I remember there was a friend of mine, real bad fucking, man, this guy was so bad. Probably the most delinquent friend I've ever known. Actually told me at the bowling alley while I was in the bathroom doing blows saying, yo, dude, slow down. That's how bad I was. But from there we got into, it wasn't called crack yet. It was called freebasing. And all my buddies got into freebasing, so I got into freebasing with them. And I didn't do cocaine no more. I started smoking it. And it only was two nights I did that freebase, and it was so good. It was so good. That we would freebase and we would stay up all night. I remember sleeping on the floor with my friend Eve and doing freebase all night. It was a lot of fun. Till the third time I freebased. I got the cold sweats and I felt like I was going to pass out. It was like, I was like, uh-oh, this ain't good. So I was like, oh my God, I couldn't catch my breath. It was like, I thought I was going to die of a heart attack. So I stopped freebasing that night. But then the next time we got together, I freebased again and it hit me exactly the same way. Cold sweats on the floor, breathing hard. Oh my God, I'm going to die. And after that second time, I said, I can't do this shit. I can't do freebase, I'm just going to stick with my weed. But all my buddies that were doing the freebasing, with the exception of Eve, stopped talking to me. Were no longer my friend because after all, I couldn't put into the freebase. I would buy weed, but not freebase. And they're like, we don't want this idiot around. But Eve did. And to this day, Eve is still my friend. And so then after that, I just stuck with weed and I never did anything else. Let me think. I've done, acid. Oh yeah, I've done acid many, many times. I saw Deep Purple on acid. I saw the Scorpions on acid back in the 80s. I went to go to laser shows on acid. Never forget seeing The Who on acid, the laser show. And they were singing that song, Love Rain on Me. And all of a sudden I started feeling water on me. I'm like, holy shit, this acid's so good. I feel like it's raining on me. Where it turns out they had these little sprinklers on the roof that were throwing out like a mist. So I wasn't really hallucinating. But the funniest thing that happened to me on acid was my friend Little John. We were at this place called Grinnell's Park here in Miami. And we're all on acid. And I see Little John about, like 30 feet away from me walking toward us. And we're like, hey, John. And I think he went to go take a piss or something. He's walking toward us. We're looking at him. All of a sudden, he vanished in thin air. Disappeared. We're like, whoa, what the fuck? He disappeared. Then he pops up and he goes, hey, I fell in a hole. There was also another time on acid where I was on South Beach and there was a car, a Volkswagen covered in feathers with a speaker on top of it making chicken noises. Bop, 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 bop. And I was like, what the fuck? Only on acid you see shit like that. But that was then, and no longer into drugs. After all that phase wore out, I started doing alcohol, but I've never really been a bad alcoholic. I've had my little bouts here and there that I shouldn't really talk about, but it was never really bad. But at one time I was really into vodka. And the vodka story is something I think I would keep to myself because there's a lot of hurt there. There's a lot of hurt and pain, and I really don't want to get into that because even talking about that depresses me. But I loved my Jack Daniels. Jack and Coke, that was my thing, man. But I became very, very controlled as not as an alcoholic. Listen to me, as consuming alcohol. I would always keep it for my days off. I would never get drunk on a regular basis. I would just have my drinks here and there. I don't drink and drive. I don't believe in that. I lost somebody very special to a drunk driver, and that really, woke me up. I've drove buzzed, but never drunk. I mean, there's been times I was at shows so drunk that I would literally sleep in my car till I sobered up to drive home. Because I knew, I'm going to kill somebody, or I'm going to kill myself, or I'm going to crash if I drive in this condition. I knew better. And that's probably another reason why it goes back to my parents. Responsibility is something I'm very good at. I'm a very responsible person when it comes to a lot of things. But, one thing I wasn't really responsible at was food consumption. I ate a lot of crap for decades, for most of my life. And I know I'm like going way fast forward now, but I'm going to go up to like 4 or 5 years ago. What happened to me was I was at work and I had a bit of a stomach ache going into work, and it just progressed and progressed and progressed, and it got so bad that I had to leave work and go to the hospital because I knew there was something wrong with me. It was a pain I've never felt before. So I went to my parents' house. I punched out early. This is my city job where I'm already working. I'm already fast forward. I'm leaving out a lot of stuff. But a lot of that stuff has to revolve around music, and I'm sure you can hear most of it in the concert podcast, the concert stories. I know there's a lot of crazy shit that's happened. Oh, I will have to talk about Julie, too. That's a very important thing. But let me talk about this. I'm gonna go backwards after this story. I ended up going to the hospital. I went to my parents' house. My parents called me an ambulance. I was in severe pain, and all I remember was screaming in the hospital, "Give me something!" I needed some kind of what is that, morphine or whatever. Give me something to take away this pain, please. That's all I remember. And then I pretty much passed out. I guess they gave me morphine or whatever. I don't even remember that part. But while I was out, I heard the doctor say to my brother that, you may have to call some loved ones in to say their goodbyes. That's how bad I was. So the next thing I remember, I wake up and I'm surrounded by doctors. And one of the doctors said, what happened was my pancreas was all fucked up. And they asked me if I drank. And I said, well, on occasion. And they're like, sure you do. I go, no, really. I love my Jack and Coke, but I drink that shit maybe twice a month, I admit I drank a lot of it, and I was home, when I do that home thing. When I'd go to shows, it'd be like a couple beers, that's it, But on those rare occasions where I would take Jack was those occasions where I would sleep in my car. So they also said to me, you also have diabetes, and your sugar was at 340, I think it was. No, I think it was 460. It was in the 400s, and I was like, diabetes? But I don't have a sweet tooth. I don't eat like candy and all that shit. But it turns out that you don't only catch diabetes if you have a sweet tooth, Like I ate a lot of bread and a lot of rice, and all that shit turns into sugar in your system. So that really was a wake-up call for me. To live with diabetes was really rough in the beginning. I really do have it under control now. I don't really inject, and I have to inject myself with a pen in my stomach, and it really doesn't hurt. It sounds painful, but it doesn't hurt at all, actually. Not even a sting, nothing. I mean, on occasion, I feel a little bit, but it's nothing, But it's I have a bad case of diabetes, so I have been eating right, and I have my cheat days here and there. But my whole life has been turned around because of that. Health wise, I don't eat anything with sugar. I don't drink soda, and then I did continue to drink diet soda after that, thinking, well, it doesn't have no sugar. This is good for me, and milk, and dairy products, and that backfired on me. I think it was about a year and a half ago. I had kidney stones, and oh my God, that was even more painful than the pancreas. And that was really bad because I'm in the hospital doing the same thing, screaming, give me something, but this time I was aware the whole time. I was in severe fucking pain. And turned out it was kidney stones, and so I had to stop drinking soda and dairy products. On an occasion I'll have it, but I used to drink that shit every day. And then passing the kidney stones, I still have them, man. Big ass rocks flying out of my dick while I'm taking a pee. You look at these rocks, you're like, ooh, but it really wasn't as painful as, it was very discomforting, but it wasn't really that painful. And my kidney stones are very smooth. I still have them. They look like little tiny eggs, they're stones, but, if you go on Google Images, because when that shit flew out of my dick, I was like, what the fuck, is that a kidney stone? And then I went on Google, and I saw all the kidney stone had these ridges on it and little teeth, and I'm like, oh man, mine was smooth. I was like, thank God. I would hate to pee out that shit. That'd be painful. But, there was a lot of blood. Actually, I went on tour, right, because when I first got the kidney stone attack, I had an East Coast tour to do, I think it was maybe 10 days after I had my kidney stone attack. So there I was on tour, and I called it the Passing Kidney Stones Up the East Coast tour. But luckily, nothing happened to me on that tour as far as kidney stones or attacks, but I was peeing blood, and that was scary. So I was like, oh my God. And I was peeing blood toward the end of it while we were getting back. We were down to the last two shows, so I went straight to the doctor to find out why I was peeing blood, and it had to do with the kidney stones. They were scraping in there. Because once they passed, they cut stuff, in there and you pee blood. But after I passed those two kidney stones, I never had an attack again. Knock on wood. But let me go back to Julie. Julie was the most beautiful girl I knew back in the early 80s. Well, mid 80s. Yeah, early 80s. Beautiful. Gorgeous, blonde hair, blue-eyed. Total, just prom queen looking beautiful girl that I had such a crush on. Loved her. But she didn't love me back. She liked the bad boys, and I wasn't bad enough for her. She liked the scum. I was like a bad boy, but I wasn't a scumbag. She liked bad boys / scumbags. And I tried all I could to be with her. Everything. I tried everything. And she was shy and stuff, so she wasn't really rude about it, but she never gave me the green light. Very unfortunate, but that was a girl that I wanted so bad. So, she disappeared. She had a kid with this guy. Guy was a total asshole. Drug addict. Made her a drug addict. And I heard horrible stories about her afterwards. All these stories of what she was doing for drugs, whoring herself for drugs. And she was just fucked up. She was raising a kid, and who knows whatever happened to that kid. And so I never saw her again. But there was, fast forward to, let's see, this has been about maybe 13, 14 years ago. I was at a red light on Collins Avenue and 71st Street. And all of a sudden, I got the shit scared out of me because this fucking deranged-looking drug addict came up to my car going, hi, and I was like, what the fuck? I got scared. Like, ugh. And I look, and it was Julie, but it didn't really look like her. She looked not good. She looked like she's been through the ringer. And she looked at me, she's like, Ralph! And then she runs around and she gets in the driver's seat. I'm like, who the fuck is this? I mean, she obviously knows my name. Oh my God, Ralph! Oh my! And then she's on my passenger seat, and I'm like, oh, Julie. I couldn't believe it. I got the green light. And I start driving. She's like, yeah, I need to get out of here. Please, get me out of here. And I'm thinking to myself, holy shit. I just picked up a hooker in my car. I hope I don't get pulled over, I was freaking out on that. And then she was like, oh, I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten. Can you please give me some money to eat? And I said, look, Judy, I'll tell you, there was a 7-Eleven a couple blocks up. I said, I'll take you there to, I'll get you some food. I wasn't going to give her money because I knew it was going to go to drugs. But I was wrong. The girl was hungry because she goes, okay. So we go into the 7-Eleven and she bought some stuff. And I never forget, she bought a coconut cake, one of those coconut cakes. And she fucking wolfed that thing with one bite. She shoved it all in her mouth. Eat. I'm like, oh, slow down there, Judy. Julie? Why do I keep saying Judy? So, anyway, she's like, oh, it's so good to see you, and blah, 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 and I want to hang out with you. And I'm like, okay, Julie, where do you live? And she's like, oh, before you take me home, I need to go to this place. I said, all right. So I take her to this place, 82nd and Dickens on Miami Beach. I drive up, and I can already tell this is some kind of crack den. Some scumbags hanging out. It was like 2, 3 in the morning. She walks in, claiming that she's going to go get her shoes. And while she goes in, this fucking deranged-looking drug addict walks up to my car. And I'm like, uh-oh. And he walks up and he's like, hey, man, just to let you know, that girl there, you better be careful. She's bad news. Here's this fucking deranged-looking fucker telling me about her. Like, she's bad. I'm like, fucking, I'm out of here. So, I left. So, I don't know whatever happened to Julie. I'd be amazed if she was still alive. I hope she is. Because if she didn't clean herself, then she did pass on. But that's the dangers of drugs, man. So, all you kids out there, it's cool to do drugs, man, but you better stop. And don't get overboard. With it. I'm not encouraging you to do drugs, but I am encouraging not to do too much drugs. But hey, if you never did drugs, and I advise never to do them, period. Just don't even get near them, because you never know. You might get addicted and die. But, alright, enough of the drugs, and I guess I'll just go into my musical career, which is at the tail end of the story of my life so far, which was in my only 10 years ago, was when I first started the band. And I know I've told this story a million times, so I'm not going to go into how Thrash or Die started, but I will say that, starting the band, I met a guy by the name of William Barter, and we ended up starting the band, and I really looked up to him because I feel like, musically, I felt like he was just amazing. I still do think so. I think he came up with amazing riffs, amazing musician. He's really, really good at what he does. Riff master general, I would say. And very proud of everything I've done with him musically. I've had a lot of problems with him. We're on good terms now, but not always we were on good terms. But and this is in no way a slam at him or anything, but for the most part of the early years of Thrash or Die, the first, well, maybe more than half the existence of Thrash or Die, I very much depended on him, and I really wanted this band to work so much that I went through so much stress trying to get shit done with him, because I really did feel like without him, I can't do Thrash or Die. It wasn't until I met Ryan Taylor that I realized, wait a second, this kid is amazing too, and he's writing some amazing riffs, and I don't really have to depend on this guy that was very undependable. And when he finally totally left the band, we continued, and after he left, my stress left with him. I no longer cared anymore, or was panicking anymore, because I felt like Thrash or Die's achieved way more than I ever thought it would. So it kind of made me relax, made me calm down. That drive to make something happen, where too many things happen. I mean, sure, we didn't become huge and we're, by choice, we're not on a record label. And just so you know, we were offered. And one of them was pretty big and it was less than a year ago. And I'm not going to mention that name, but let's just say I refused that deal because they were asking us for $5,000 for them to sign us. What the fuck is up with that? I was like, you know what? I'm doing fine on my own. I work for the city. I ain't got time to tour a lot. So I can't really, commit to a major label because maybe they will want us to tour and do a lot of work where I can't because of my job. Because in the music industry today, man, if you don't do it for the love of music, you might as well not even do it. If you want to get into music for money, then you're going to have to bust your ass way more than regular people to make shit happen. And there's a lot of bullshit going on. And I've had a taste of it. I've had a taste of touring and merchandising and all that stuff. And it is really, really hard work, especially if you're the only one doing it. Because we have no management. I'm pretty much the guy that does everything financially for the band. And I do a lot. I'm always at the post. I just went to the post office this week to restock on Melting Your Skull with CD Baby. So CD Baby's my record company. Anybody out there that's starting a band and you press a CD, I highly recommend CD Baby. They're great. They sell our shit and they keep selling it. And I do my little promotion on social media and YouTube, and it's taken us everywhere. But my point is that with Ryan Taylor, I stopped stressing, and then I formed a band called Combat with Brian Wilson, which is like traditional metal, my favorite form of metal that I absolutely love. We released an EP, absolutely in love with that EP, and me and Brian have been talking lately that we need to continue, and we are looking for new members to continue this because we have enough material to make a full-length album. And, and then I went on, and then there's Old Leather, which is pretty much done. Just some of the guitar needs to be worked, but my job's done. I already wrote all the lyrics and I laid down the vocals for that EP, which I'm very, very proud of. And then there's Psycho Wrath that's in the works, Ripjaw that's in the works, and after this Colombian show, though, Thrasher Die, you heard the last episode, don't have to talk too much about it. Me and Josh, the bass player, and Gio and Poochie, and possibly Brian Wilson will probably continue under a different name. With all the bullshit that's gone on since after Colombia, because when I got back from Colombia, just a couple days later, I flew to Nashville for the Rock and Pod Expo. If you want to hear about that, we have an episode on that on the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast. And then when I came back from there, I caught a vicious cold. I wanted to get right on it, go to Josh's house and start writing some songs and riffs and stuff, but I caught a bad cold. And now I'm over the cold, and now the hurricane's coming. So, yeah, there's been a bunch of not missteps, out of my control, actually, to get this new project going. But shit, we haven't been back from Colombia not even a month, so I pictured it already happening, but whatever. And to actually be writing music is something I never thought I would ever do, but I've been doing that for 10 years now, and I have like a nice... I was thinking about it the other day, how many things I'm on, and it's like 9 different projects, like not all bands, like I'm on compilations. I did a Merciful Fate tribute album, I did 2 Thrasher Die albums, I did an EP, the Combat EP, and soon coming out is the Old Leather EP, and a lot of cover songs I've covered, and there's just a lot of stuff that I've done in this 10 years where, it doesn't look like I did much because Thrasher Die only had 2 albums in 10 years, but there's a lot of other stuff I recorded in between those 2 albums. And after, by the way. But I'm very proud and I'm very happy, and that's why I think that my life has been so fucking good. It's been great. It's been amazing. And I guess I'll end it here as far as my life goes. And I know I'm leaving out so much stuff. I'm very, very tired from this hurricane preparation, so my brain ain't 100%. So maybe there'll be, my life part 2. If you guys enjoyed this show, which I hope you did, give me feedback. I'll talk about more about my life. But I want to also talk about a few things at the end about certain things in life that I can't help but say stuff about. And the ignorance of the human race in some parts and the greatness of the human race. The ignorance, I feel, are people that hate people. People are amazing, especially now with this whole hurricane thing. I mean, so many people have written me, so many people offer to help. You know, people are telling me to come to their house, stay with them. People are fucking great. So anytime I see somebody say, I hate people, then go slap your mom. She's a person. She raised you, so you should slap her. She's a person that doesn't know how to raise a kid and respect the human race. Like racism. I mean, who the fuck are you? You know, to claim your race is better. Out of every, black, white, Chinese, you know, whatever. All these different races have a portion of racist people that think we're the superior race. Yeah, because you were born into that race, therefore you think you're the superior one. You're an idiot. Racism is pure ignorance, so I find that to be stupid. I also find it to be stupid when people say, you have excellent taste in music. You know, no, it's not that they have excellent taste in music, it's that they have the same taste you have. You'll never hear somebody that has different taste in music than yours and say to you, you have excellent taste in music and I don't. You know, it's like, it's just, I don't know, I find it very egotistical to say to tell somebody you have excellent taste in music. Only because they like the music you like, you know? Like, I'm a fan of Frank Zappa. By the way, I saw this YouTube rant I did not too long ago, and I'm lifting some of that shit for this podcast. But yeah, I was said in that YouTube video that, you know, I love the band, I love the artist Frank Zappa, and I know Frank Zappa is not everybody's taste in music. So anybody that doesn't like Frank Zappa wouldn't think I have great taste in music, and everybody that loves well, not everybody, but a portion of people that like Frank Zappa would think I have excellent taste in music. Music is personal. It's a personal thing, you know. It's like, you know, there's people that, you know what, if I hate the taste of liver, you know, and if somebody like loves the taste of liver, though, you have bad taste in food, you know, and vice versa. It's just, no, man, it's all personal shit. There's stuff I love and there's stuff I hate. But being that I'm in a band, before it was very easy for me to say I hated this, I hated that. But now I kind of like, I'm in a band, you know. I shouldn't like be saying how much I hate shit because it sounds kind of pompous. But I am guilty of doing it on the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast Facebook page because it's just a party over there, you know. And everybody knows that I'm kind of goofing. I mean, I don't like certain things, but I go overboard with it because I wanna like show how stupid it is to be, you know, anti this, anti that. So I act like these pompous people that, oh man, you like that, you're gay. So I kind of like play that role, but people that know me know I'm doing it with a wink because I've said it a million times on the podcast that, dude, just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's no good. Like the great Mike Muir said. I'm a big, passionate music fan, and if you're listening to me right now, you are as well. Because after all, you know, you discover me through my bands or my podcast, what have you. And my thing is that I really do dislike a lot of bands, but I do have nothing against their fans. There's a big difference, man. I hate a band or their fans. It's like I said earlier, I find a lot of Pantera and Slayer fans to be douchebaggish, but that has nothing to do with music. I don't like how they are, you know, like a lot of them, not all. There's a lot of them that are cool. A lot of my friends like those bands and they're cool as fuck. And there's a lot of my friends that hate Pantera and they're cool too. They're all right with me, man. I mean, that's the thing. I don't hate fans, man. If you love a band I absolutely detest, hey, man, my loss, right? Because that's the way I look at it, man. Like, I'll give you an example. U2. U2 plays stadiums. I can't get into that band at all. But that stadium filled of people are loving U2. Who loses? I do. because they get it. They get something that gets them joy, and I don't get joy from that. So, in other words, I think people out there that hate bands, you're missing out on what the people that love them get. But at the same time, we people that hate bands also get that same kind of joy from bands we love. So all I can say is at a U2 concert, people will get joy where I won't. And they win. Hey, what's better, to be happy or fucking hateful? Happy is the way to go. It's good for the soul, man. And I would like to end the show talking about the podcast, the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast. The origins of that, which I'm very, very proud of as well, was I always wanted to do a podcast. First podcast I would listen to a lot was, I think it was called Skull Session or something like that, with Bob Nalbamian. Loved that podcast. I would listen to it all the time. He even gave me a shout out and plugged the first Thrasher Die album. He talked about it on his podcast, which was great. Really cool dude. And then I discovered Podkist with Ken Mills, which is a Kiss type podcast. And then from there I started checking out other podcasts, and I wanted to do a podcast so bad. And I remember my YouTube channel was like getting a lot of responses, the Almost Human channel. And I had I still have the Almost Human Facebook page where I asked people, man, I want to start a podcast. And out of everybody, Ian Wadley, who I don't know who the fuck he is, was like, hey, I'll start a podcast with you. I go, dude, if you can get it running, let's do it. So he went through all the bullshit, got it running. We did the podcast, and it exploded. It became really big. I mean, for me, I think it's huge. We have a rabid following. You can see it on our Facebook page. Very dedicated people that listen every week, and we have them on our show, and I think that's what makes our show great, is that people, just regular people that listen to our show, we'll have them on our show. It's like, get on our show. If they're interesting and they're funny, we definitely will have them on our show. And I think it's a really fun podcast, and what we did in the expo in Nashville cemented it for us, if you want to hear about it. But I want to say, Ian Wadley is another one I've had some problems with here and there, but I love him, man. And I got to say, with William Barter and Ian Wadley, these problems I've had with both of them, I can't blame it all on both of them. I have my quirks and my flaws, and I'm not perfect. I am a little hot-headed at times and can't think straight when I get really mad. So, basically, I want to thank Ian for... And then, the whole part is that Ian Wadley is this, stranger to me. And I'm like, let's start a podcast. And then I start this podcast with the guy, and he turns out to be fucking hilarious. I think he's way better than me on the podcast. I think he's the star of the podcast, really, as much as I goof around and talk about how he rides my coattails because I got this little following on YouTube, which he calls YouTube sensation. But, it's not bad. And also the YouTube channels, man. That was before the podcast. I started doing reviews because I saw one time a guy do a Black Sabbath review, and I was like, hey, I want to do that. So I started making my own Black Sabbath. That was my original channel, Eternal Idols, which I don't really update much because I'm pretty much done with all the Black Sabbath reviews. I even reviewed all the Dio and the Ozzy albums. And I believe I even did the Bill Ward album. But the Almost Human page I update a lot because, boy, you could talk endlessly about Kiss even after the reviews, which I'm done reviewing all their shit. But, man, they're always in the news. Something goofy with Kiss comes on where, the Kiss Army, is up in arms or, talking about it. And I go and I give my thoughts, and, man, I put it up, and, thousands of people love it and want to, watch it and leave fucking comments. I think it's at 5 million, or it's very close to 5 million now views. So, I'm very proud of that. And that's why my life rules, I may be unlucky in love, but look at all the other cool shit that's gone down, from my life. It's just been great. It's been awesome. And, but, you know, I've had some hard times. It hasn't been all fucking, you know, cookies and cream, you know. But, for the most part, man, I can't complain. You know, everything else has been fucking awesome. And, hope I'm here to talk more about it, you guys, because, now as I look at the clock, it's, because there's a lot of editing and there's a lot of stopping of recording during this, I am now 11 hours away. We're 10 hours away from the hurricane hitting us. What it's supposed to hit us. We'll see. Now it's time to dig into the Vieira Vault. Let's get into the Vieira Vault. Ooh, it's very dusty in here. I'm going to play a band for you this time. It's called Stranger. They were a band from Tampa that was signed to Epic Records and produced by the great Tom Warman, who produced like Ted Nugent, Cheap Trick, Motley Crue, Twist Sister, and a plethora of other artists. And this is a really fun album, the first album, Stranger, released in 1982, featuring an amazing guitar player by the name of Ronnie Garvin, who unfortunately committed suicide in 1996 after Stranger tried to reform with a different singer, and he was also having marital problems at the time. And man, what a loss. He was a great guitar player. And those that know this album, I'm sure you love it. It's just a fun rock album. It's not metal, it's just a fun rocking album. Some songs are kind of, you know, borderline metal, but it's just a fun album. Those that are aware of this band knows songs like, you know, Jackie's So Bad and Swamp Woman. But I'm going to play another song off this album. I just find it's just a fun song, a fun rockin' song. This is Stranger, and this song is called Rock and Roll You Baby.
When I feel down, no one is around.
That was Strange with I Wanna Rock and Roll You Baby. I hope you like that. Now, let's get into the plugs, and then I'll have my final words.
Hey, I'm Dr. Fuck.
And I'm the Ayatollah of Alcohola.
And we are from the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast.
If you want to check out some crazy, uncensored, unbiased, totally nuts reviews of classic hard rock and heavy metal albums, check us out. You can get us on Podbean and iTunes. New episodes every Sunday.
That's right, and we also do each other's moms.
True, free of charge.
Well, mine charges.
Oh yeah, mine's free.
Earpillar, the podcasting and interview news site. To keep up with your favorite bands or artists, and the podcasts or interviews where they appear, go to earpillar.com to find out what we're all about.
You haven't listened to Mars Attacks podcast? What are you waiting for, man? Host Victor M. Ruiz brings you all types of hard rock and metal-based podcasts. You'll find everything from music-based episodes, interviews, to series such as Ultra Sexy Classic Album Series, where some of your favorite musicians, producers, journalists, and show hosts comment on the albums that push the evolutionary chains of hard rock and metal. Get with it and go to MarsAttacksRadio.com to find out more.
Listen to The Rock Show with Gully and Joe. Go to all the W's, Gully, GULLYANDJOA.UK, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern. The Rock Show with Gully and Joe. Listen to it. Don't be a cunt.
All right, Kiss Army. Since 2007, you've been getting Podkissed, the Kiss audio fanzine for your ears.
That's right, it's your Podkissed. Every month, the Podkiss crew, along with the Kiss Room, brings you Kiss talk like no one else, whether it be roundtables, interviews with the band past and present, analysis, and great Kiss fun.
Hi, this is Dave Fraley, and you're listening to Podkiss.
Hi, this is Bruce Kulick, and you're listening to Podkiss.
The Podkissed, the Kiss audio fanzine for your ears.
Hey everybody, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Chris.
And we're from the Decibel Geek Podcast. And if you love this...
then you'll love us.
That's right. Brand new episode every single Monday. You can find us on iTunes and at decibelgeek.com. And the best thing is, it's rock and roll and it's always free.
Music's most diverse podcast, starring Luke Innes, Gregson Bootlegs, and Mr. T from Germany. New episodes released every Saturday on Podbean, Podcast Addict, and iTunes. The true alternative podcast.
Have you developed paralysis from trying to choose a movie on Netflix? Of course you have. There's too much garbage on Netflix to sift through. So join us on our podcast, We Watched It For You. We watch a bad movie every week and try to determine its watchability. We Watched It For You is for bad movie fans, B-movie fans, underground film fans, and cult movie fanatics alike. Don't miss an episode of We Watched It For You, a guide to the lesser-known movies of Netflix, available on iTunes or wherever you download your podcasts.
Hello, my name is Lee Gerstmann, and I have a podcast which is improvisational in time. The next episode might be 20 seconds away or it might be 20 years away, but it's called The Lee Gerstmann Show, and I do a lot of record reviews, but I also do editorials about women and food and other subjects, strange or otherwise. Feel free to take a listen to The Lee Gerstmann Show on Spreaker. Thank ya.
Hey, headbangers, you want your own radio show? Well, you got it. On Thursday nights here on that metal station, join me on the Dr. Fuck Show. Go in the chat room and I will make you my co-host. That's right. Everybody that joins me in the chat room, I discuss whatever you guys want to talk about. I'll mention your name, I'll say what you say, and we're going to go back and forth. And I'll even fucking play whatever request you want. Unless it sucks. Then I ain't playing it because my show rules, and only songs that rule is allowed right here on that metal station. The Dr. Fuck Show airs live Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there. Well, no, fuck that hope. I better see you there, motherfucker.
Hey, rock music fans. This is Terrence Reardon of the Terrence Reardon and Friends Audiovisual Podcast. Join yours truly as I look every week at a different classic rock or metal album that had a major impact on my life, and I'm usually joined by a friend or two or 10, and we talk about nothing but great classic rock and metal. And there's no country or Sammy Hagar or rap on the fucking show. That shit is frowned upon with yours truly. So if you want a great classic rock audiovisual podcast, tune on in to the Terrence Reardon and Friends Audiovisual Podcast. New episodes every Monday, exclusively on YouTube.
Hey, this is DJ Mac. I want to let you guys know about the podcast with my co-host DJ Metal Mike, Mind Over Metal. You can find us at mindovermetalpodcast.com. We're also on Spreaker, iTunes, Podbean, and just about everywhere else you get your fucking podcast from. Oh yeah, and we're also on YouTube. So check us out for the best in heavy metal and hard rock music, news, discussion, and reviews. That's the Mind Over Metal podcast. Download it, subscribe to it today.
All right, this is the Ayatollah of Alcoholic, Ian Wadley, and I want you to listen to my brand new radio show, Wadzilla World, where I cover every era of fucking music that I like, and a few that you like too. Check me out every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time on soundphoria.com. I'll see you there.
All right, so that's the end of the Vieira Vault, and hopefully there'll be many more episodes to come because I will not die. All right, you're listening to a guy that's still alive, I hope. So thank you, everybody, for listening, especially if you're listening right now. That means you even sat through all the plugs to hear my final thoughts. So, I don't know, in case I'm wrong and I do die, I want to thank everybody, and it's been a beautiful life. Don't fucking feel sad for me. I did it my way, as Frank Sinatra said, and I've done stuff that a lot of people wish they could have done. I performed in front of 8,000 people less than a month ago, and it's just been a charmed life, man, with a lot of heartache and bullshit, but you know what? The good outweighs the bad, and I'm very grateful for this great life I've had, and I really hope it does continue. And thank you all for listening. This is the Vieira Vault signing off. Later.